can I say? Hey, so are you guys ready for some news? There's a lot of news happening.
You're right.
It's time for news.
Yeah.
It's the good news, the bad news, and the other shit. Yeah. All right, welcome everybody to the good news, the bad news, and the other shit. Not necessarily in that order, in those proportions. But let's just say, a bunch of things happening. One of the things we wanted to remind everyone is that we're going to continue. We're going to continue to remind you about the ongoing suffering in Puerto Rico and also in the U.S. Virgin Islands. I really want to go take some time and try to give you some more stuff. For example, on I'm chasing you. You chasing
Remember
me.
that was because you know what? I'm sitting there going like, well, wait, he's gonna talk to me. He's gonna talk to them.
So I'm going to continue to give you those updates for Puerto Rico and the U.S. But Vic, when you think about it, I'm not sure that things are going on so well in Florida and Texas.
Oh, so are you saying that Houston is all done?
I wondered. That's what I wondered. I'm going to go get some more. I have to take some time and do a little more investigation because it'll be out there. But I suspect, just because I'm used to the infrastructure, that you're going to find that the ongoing support efforts are going to vary by zip codes.
You mean like Katrina?
Like Katrina.
Yeah.
So I don't hear much talk about it right now coming out of Texas or Florida. So I'm going to go looking. But I'm continuing to look at Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands where things aren't going that well. You know, you've had 100,000 people migrate from Puerto Rico to New York.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So I wanted to remind everybody it's after 7 weeks. First of all, everybody needs to know the power grid in Puerto Rico was notoriously bad before this. Well, it shouldn't have been allowed to be bad. It's always a matter of money and what the government is willing to pay for. And the people of Puerto Rico, because they're treated like second-class citizens, what can I say? But there you go.
Yeah.
Things continue to do poorly. I had some pictures. What did I do with my pictures? Oh, here's my picture. Well, here's a picture from some folks in the Virgin Islands. You know, people are barbecuing every day. Water's a big issue.
Right.
Okay, now these are U.S. citizens. Here's a picture where, come on. New generators and stuff, guys working on but it was bad before. Why did we let it get bad? Why do we let our highways and bridges here in the U.S. get bad? Infrastructure issues, terrible there. So, again, I want to remind everybody that it's still going on there. Okay, update. So the Texas shooter, the one everybody's been talking about, who went into the church and just unloaded with an automatic weapon. He shouldn't even semi-automatic, whatever. Semi-automatic. I'm sorry.
Everybody.
His ex-wife said that she tells a story of him putting a gun to her head and asking her, "Do you want to die?" Now I would consider that a red flag. I would consider that a red flag. That's a sign. And once again, I guess because part of my issue as a physician has always been, Vic, the ongoing problems with mental health care in this country. There should be a way to trigger people to acknowledge that maybe it might see the issue is how much of your rights are we worried about, but you should be able to make a call to alert the system, and a social worker or examining team could go out and evaluate somebody based on the type of reports. But you have to invest in that infrastructure. The other thing is it makes a big deal, Vic, when you identify people like this, if you're going to do something for them. See, this is where it gets really weird in healthcare. It doesn't really help to identify people with problems if you don't do shit for them. The whole point of identifying them. Yeah, I get an attitude because this is notorious in medicine.
Yeah.
You know, you can identify a problem. How about putting some resource toward it? So people do their part to alert us, right? So healthcare people have been alerting us forever, Vic. And you and I have had this talk constantly about guys. And we still, it always turns up somewhere. How often in these disasters is there a history of mental illness? And there essentially is no good mental health care available on an ongoing basis in the United States for these type of situations that people can afford. They're not covered. Well, there's not enough coverage to give you a set amount of visits or how often. It's not managing the problems.
Let me ask you this then. When people stand up and they rise, do they actually launch change? Because complacency is that a lot of things can take place over the issues you talk about, whether it's health, infrastructure, everything relating to hurricane, disaster relief, the whole thing. If people actually stepped up and start to charge the arena where they're not getting the representation and services, the people now, not the politicians, do you think the cry would be louder? And when I say that, it's a rhetorical question at the same time a direct one. So people are taking a stand on certain things. You see the media where they sit back and say, oh, I'm more concerned about the football players. I'm not going to watch their football games anymore. I don't like them doing that. So you're taking a stand, right? Okay. You take a stand. Does everybody rise up to take a stand over people who will probably be not only current victims, future victims of gun violence? No. Mental health. You think if all of us stood up and said, okay, stop the bullshit. We're marching. Remember the women when they march,
right?
So I'm just saying, have the people themselves? You know, I know the system.
Not yet.
So if it's not happening and they're waiting for I'm saying this, we're waiting for our wonderfully elderly statesmen of men and women to fight among themselves in Congress and Senate. And then you wait. So you can't. The people have to march. They have to take a stand. And if they don't, you'll be dragging your asses complaining. Because when you back it up, it's like Puerto Rico. Everybody says you can walk that thin line. No hurricanes are coming. We got
poor. Where's the stuff coming from the Democrats if they're so concerned?
I'm not even thinking about them. And when I say that, I'm not even thinking about them, man. Because they're what, 49% of the issue and 51% of a problem.
The problem with everything is that when you want the public to take action, most of the time it requires some galvanizing force of people to get it going. In other words, leadership emerges in the form of individuals who speak out on a local grassroots level to get people organized. It usually takes that kind of an effort as a groundswell.
We're not mad enough.
Right.
We're not mad enough at the institution of health care. We're not mad enough.
But that's one of the ones. It's just like we're fighting sexual harassment now.
Right.
In Hollywood. These are things which we hope will one day have its time.
Yeah.
Next week, I'm going to be talking about the racism that's emerging at schools now because the battlefield ground is shifting. So that now that parents are taking all kind of stances at the local schools relative to issues like racism. So I'll talk to you about that next week. For our weekly Trump disaster update, it turns out the president, he's been doing his tour of Asia. And I guess it's gone relatively well for him. He's been able to avoid some of the stuff that's going on back here, which he's going to be, we'll hear today how they deal with that. But one of the unique rants in Twitter over the weekend that I had to bring up this morning is when he said he would never call Kim Jong-un, and I quote, "I would never call him short and fat." I don't know if now he's insulting the short people and the fat people. For short and fat, Vic.
I said nothing, man. I still like. I'm sorry. It's only one thing I like when he said "Rocket Man." That to me was just that was so cold because what that he says, "Oh, Rocket Man."
The president is, he those memorable. It's great for the media,
right?
Even though probably more and more being recognized as dangerous to us because of the issues of war,
right?
And the Kim Jong-un comment, and when you're dealing with people who have nuclear weapons,
yeah,
it's a whole different thing, and that's what people are concerned about. You have more and more folks, John McCain and other folks are becoming more obviously anti-Trump in the media, questioning his ability. These are part of the steps that head toward impeachment.
True.
I predicted that the shit would hit the fan within 120 days in the 522 show. I was really off by about 30 days. The shit has hit the fan, and that's what we're seeing. The president doing all these things I would say to be a distraction from the things he doesn't want to deal with. So, but that's coming.
Right.
None of this media stuff works on Mueller or any of that. So
right.
We'll see. Those things continue as we get closer and closer. The people now in the crosshairs.
Right.
Jared Kushner. It's getting closer to home. The press secretaries. Okay, but people, starting to work their way through the White House staff. And again, in a minute, there'll be no way for the president to deny he's under investigation.
And in the meantime,
they don't want to say that.
And in the meantime, everybody is understanding that, well, if the Democrats stop spending so much time and going, nanny, go get Trump. We are tired of all the bullshit, all the steps, the Twitter and all this. As long as they keep doing that fight, you guys, they don't have to address the issues that you and I think are more important. Get something done. You don't have to complain anymore to me about what Trump did. Let the investigation take place. And so every time y'all step up, don't monitor the Twitter from me. Don't do that. Show me something you're gonna make change happen. You ain't making change happen, I'm turning you off.
That's the problem. Like we said, the Democrats have been unable to take advantage of any of the anti-Trump sentiment. Yeah. Hillary Clinton remains a laughingstock and actually continues to get more negative press. The more she talks, the more her book, all of that in the negative. And so those of us, I'm preaching independence and the whole indie movement, but we have to have it's obvious the old stuff doesn't work. That's when you have to try something new. It's amazing to people. I understand you want to cling to what you're comfortable.
Right.
How's the quote? Mankind is more disposed to suffer while the evils are sufferable. Than to right this wrong by abolishing a form of government to which they are accustomed. In other words, you don't want to make change.
No.
But you're going to need to make change.
Yes.
That's the news. Ladies and gentlemen, good news. The bad news. And the other shit.